Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the minutes from May 5, 2026. Is there a motion?
Move to approve subject to modification.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm going through page 1.
I had two notes on the goals. Additional diversity, equity, and inclusion training opportunities. That's really not what the ask was. It was related to Town Plan 1.2.3, nice number. Develop a robust onboarding and maintenance training program for staff, volunteer boards, and committees.
I just had one note, was the spelling of Lisa Mullerow's last name as others present, also on item number 4 on page 2. And Eric, the correct spelling.
I'll get it to Darby.
That's still on page 1.
Yes.
My other one was.
It's on page 1 and
I get it,
4,
okay.
So.
Ordinance to maintain neighborhood livability. It was absolutely not related to short-term rentals. It's really related to the Home Act and the density requirements in the Home Act.
Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. So subject to those modifications, all those in favor of adopting the minutes say aye.
Aye.
If there are no nays, the minutes are adopted. Next is public comment. This would be a time for anybody to make any comment they wish to the board. I'd ask if you can keep it to 2 minutes. It does not have to be anything that is on the agenda. If it is something that's on the agenda, you may want to wait, but you don't have to. So is there anybody in the room who wishes to make a public comment? Seeing nobody. Eric, is there anybody online?
Let's see. Nope, no one online wishes to make public comment.
Okay. That would bring us to the next item on the agenda, special town meeting election results and next steps. Eric?
Yep. So I've got the results from special town meeting this evening to reconsider the Library Village Green bond. The yeses were the majority vote with 1,597. The noes were 1,537. Total of 3,134 votes. So the article is reconsidered at that point. So my suggestion for process is to have the library trustees have a discussion at their next meeting, and then have a joint discussion with the trustees with the select board and thinking about next steps for the project.
Yeah. Okay. Comments from the board?
Is that how the trustees want to approach it? Because I would hate for them to go too far down the road without having a conversation with us.
Yeah, that's my thought. They could have an initial discussion and then come, so they can discuss it as a board, and then come and have a joint discussion with the select board, so both bodies can meet and reach consensus on next steps for this project.
Sounds reasonable.
Any other input? No? So with that, the bond is, it's not really a bond, but the library project is now not approved. So there's no formal action that this board can take. So we will take no action. And recommend that the library trustees take it up, and then we'll have a joint session thereafter. So does that reflect what people think? Okay. Okay. That's it. Okay, we'll move on to the next agenda item. Chittenden Solid Waste District budget. Now the exciting stuff.
So I've got Executive Director Sarah Reeves. I'll connect over Zoom, and then we've got our representative, our Commissioner David Howells here as well in the room. Hey, Sarah, can you hear us?
Hi, I can now. Yes, thank you. Great. Thank you, and I appreciate the time on your agenda. My name is Sarah Reeves. I'm the Executive Director for the Chittenden Solid Waste District, and I'm going to try to share my screen, and hopefully the technology will work for me. So there's a little bit of a question. All right, looks like we're good. So I am here tonight to ask for your support on our annual budget. And when I give my presentations, I do like to start with a little bit of who we are. And we are a municipality that was chartered in 1987 by the legislature to manage the waste generated within Chittenden County. And I show this screen mainly to point to the revenue pie chart that shows the three main buckets of where we generate our revenue from, but also focus on the fact that we do not receive any revenue directly from our member cities and towns by way of property taxes. So in the case of Williston, we do provide you with payment in lieu of taxes, so pilot fees and impact fees, but you do not send us a bill for any of the services that we provide. And again, we are here to ask for your support and your approval of our district annual budget. And each member city and town has one vote on the budget as a community, and the votes are not weighted by population, so every vote is equal. Each year I'm also asked, how are we doing in Chittenden County when it comes to our diversion goals? And I point folks to that column number 3, and that column number 3 is the amount of material that, and after all the diversion has happened, that is what has gotten landfilled and sent to Coventry. And of that material, a little over 124,000 tons in the last year that was counted, 2025, we're focusing quite a lot of our energy and outreach and education and communications on that green bar, which represents food scraps. So of the 124,000 tons landfilled, almost 31,000 tons of that is food waste. And this board knows very well, we have a fantastic compost facility right down the road who would love to accept more food scraps. So we're focusing a lot of our outreach on getting folks to understand what they need to do with regards to the law and also what their options are for diverting that material. This year is a little unusual in that we had to redo our budget in response to the phishing scam that we were victimized by. So I think folks here likely have heard what happened. It was we did come out and tell people early on that we were the victim of a phishing scam where $3 million in payments that were supposed to be going to our construction partner were diverted to a fraudster. This obviously was a huge blow to our project, and this is an open and ongoing investigation being conducted by law enforcement. We are cooperating fully. The Board of Commissioners is also conducting their own independent internal review of the incident with an independent third party. I anticipate that review will be completed within the next few weeks. We will happily share anything that, any recommendations that come out of that, so that you all can also be aware and hopefully learn from our incident and better protect yourselves as a municipality. One thing I want to make sure all of our member cities and towns understand and know is that while this represents a large funding gap in our project, we are not expecting you all to bear the burden of closing that funding gap. Again, as I mentioned, we did significantly revise our fiscal 27 budget. We took it back to our finance committee, took it to our board. We revised our revenue expectations, our expenses were significantly curtailed. We deferred some capital, all in order to preserve cash. It will not completely close that gap. So we are expecting that we will be needing to take out a short-term loan to make sure that we can complete the materials recycling facility project. I'm hoping that this, again, is certainly a blip in when it comes to our reserve funds. I anticipate it's going to take another 2 fiscal years, possibly 3, to kind of bring us back to where we were intending to start in fiscal 28. So we will be pretty close to the bone for the next several years as we recover from this incident. This is an extraordinarily busy slide, which I deeply apologize for. But folks in earlier meetings have been asking for more detailed information on our reserve fund balances. So I will point you to the top 3 lines and then the bottom line. So the budget is proposing revenues in the amount of $19,255,200. We are anticipating expenses in the amount of $16,136,738. The resulting income from operations will be dedicated to the materials recycling facility project build. And then I point you to the total funds line, that bottom line. At the end of fiscal 25, we were expecting to have $12,400,000 in reserves. That's total reserves, both unrestricted, restricted, designated, and undesignated. At the end of fiscal 26, we are anticipating just over $8 million in reserve, and we had to plug in that $3 million loss somewhere, so we are applying it to the undesignated reserve fund. The MRF build is likely to draw down another $9 million, both in operating revenue and in reserve funds, leaving us with an anticipated reserve fund balance at the end of fiscal 27 at just under $2 million. Where we are drawing from are the unrestricted reserves, and those are the top 4 items on that reserve fund balance list. When the MRF project is done, that one goes away, and then it's going to take some time to rebuild that capital fund and to make sure that we are, again, adequately funded in the operating fund and the solid waste management fee fund. But the restricted funds are not being touched. The designated fund is not being touched. And the only other fund that we kind of carry is an undesignated, but we tend to not have much in there anyway. We really shouldn't have anything in there. It's kind of where the monies drop when it doesn't have a specific fund or reserve fund to go into. This is just a visual representation of kind of our buckets of revenue, and this should look familiar to folks who've been on the select board for a while. Tipping fees or user fees, those are the fees that are paid directly to us by our customers to manage materials. So, for example, at our drop-off centers. The sale of materials is things like sale of compost, sale of sorted recycling, sale of local color paint. The solid waste management fee, that is the fee that is charged to haulers. It's essentially a tax on trash, and that fee is for all material that is disposed of in the landfill. So anything that is destined for disposal gets attached a solid waste management fee to that. And again, it's similar to the visual representation of our expenses. This hasn't changed much over the last several years. The bulk of our expenses are payroll and materials management. And materials management are the fees that we pay to haulers to move items either to market or to disposal. And for folks who prefer a number or percentage, this is a comparison for this fiscal 27 to the current budget fiscal 26. The revenue change is up about 11%, and again, it's revising our estimates in material sale increase, and it's a big percentage, but a small increase in product stewardship reimbursement. And certainly,
Revenue page. Yeah. I couldn't really track where the material sales increase was coming from, because I thought I read that it was going from $97 a ton to $75 a ton, which seems like it's going the other way.
So we're anticipating that both the tons will increase at the recycling facility, the quality will increase. I think that you're talking about the average commodity revenue, our average commodity rate is the 75 to 95. Is that the number you're referring to?
Going down, right? Significantly.
Yeah. So there's what we did was we looked at kind of how our revenue was tracking this year, and the revenue is tracking a little bit higher than what we had budgeted. We budgeted in the 70s for this year, and so I think we were budgeting a little bit higher. I'll double check that though. But our revenues are tracking higher. So I asked my folks to take a look at, instead of guesstimating, to really hew closer to actuals. So the revenue change is reflecting more what we were actually seeing this year. And so that's where that change is looking to. It's also reflecting a little bit of a change in the increase to the pricing at the compost facility. So there'll be a little bit more there as well. So, but we tend to try to budget very conservatively, both in our revenue expectation and in our expenses. And we tend to end up with more than what we've budgeted, but I wanted to make it close. I didn't want to have any guessing, not as much guessing as we've done. So that's getting, again, closer to actual. But I will double check on I thought we had also revised that average commodity rate higher. Right now it's averaging about $85 to $87 a ton. So it should likely be closer to that $90 a ton.
Just my other question on here, I know you like to budget conservatively, but you've done heroic work to try to make up for this $3 million. I don't want to slight that at all. I can't imagine having to fix that in a budget like you've done. It's great, but I assume that this budget is probably pretty aggressive, more aggressive than conservative, in order to make that work. And so, am I right in just if you were too aggressive, you would just end up with less reserves? That $1 million in your operating reserves would be something less. Correct.
And so what we try to maintain in our operating reserves is 3 to 4 months of operating expenses. So if something catastrophic were to happen and we couldn't for some reason raise fees or raise revenue in other ways, we would have 3 to 4 months of being able to cover all of our bills. And that also may be aggressive, frankly, and we may not necessarily need that much of a buffer. So that is where a good chunk of the overage is coming from, but also that solid waste management fee. We have 4 to 6 months of reserve there as well, and that likely is, again, overly conservative. So, however, we want to make sure that we are rebuilding those reserves as quickly as we can to again achieve that minimum limit that our board established a couple of years ago when we established the priority funding for our reserves, and we call it a waterfall effect. So anything that is revenue that's in excess of the needs of that particular year, we fund the reserves in a priority order. So once it hits the max, then it spills into the next one and spills into the next one. So the solid waste management fee reserve and the operating reserve have been at their max for the past couple of years. So all of the excess have been spilling into the capital reserve. So that's where the issue really with the reserves. I could go back. It's more being able to fill back up the capital reserve, because the priority will then start again with the operating and the solid waste management reserve. So we've been lucky in the fact a couple of past years where we've been able to adequately fund those first two, and then the capital reserve has been that recipient of the excess revenue. So that's what I'm saying. It'll take a couple to 3 fiscal years to kind of get us back to where we have the minimum amount of the first two reserves, and then we're starting to really replenish that capital reserve with that. Mm-hmm. And similarly, the expenses, we're essentially holding the expenses relatively the same from this year to next year. And where we took some significant cuts were in the administrative costs, promotion, education, professional fees for the consulting and consulting work, and equipment and fleet. Took some decreases in travel and training and professional development were all cut. We are also, again, deferring some capital projects, doing very minimal capital projects other than the MRF. We have one small project to do, and then pushing those projects out to out years. There are some fee changes, and these changes were in the original budget draft budget that our finance committee saw, and so these are not done in response to the phishing scam. And the first one is something that is actually in response to knowing that when the new materials recycling facility comes online, all of the revenue that it generates will be needed to pay for its own operation, to pay its debt service, and to try to contribute to its own capital reserve for its own capital needs. So it will not be a contributor to the overall general capital reserve fund for the district. So for the past couple of years, we've been brainstorming ways to help have the drop-off centers and the organic recycling facility, for example, to be positive contributors to the capital reserve fund. So for the drop-off centers, we actually decided that we needed to get some input from our customers. We knew that we wanted to somehow raise the money from within the drop-off center system to have that it could be sustainable and have a sustainable mechanism for raising those funds. So we surveyed our customers, just our drop-off center customers, for 3 weeks in March, and we said we need to generate $1 somewhere, and we have 4 options that we'd like you to consider, and please rank them and tell us your preferences. And so the top 2 answers, and they were neck and neck, were a facility use fee or a gate fee, so $1 per vehicle per trip, or adding $1 to the bags of trash. And we went back and forth on which one to utilize because it really was neck and neck. And we decided that the facility use fee would capture more users, right? So say someone only uses our drop-off centers a couple times a year, or for maybe they have a mattress that they come in with, but they have subscription hauling, so they don't need to use us for trash. We want to make sure to capture that customer and not place all of the burden on our regular trash customers who may be in a cycle of their lives where they are generating a lot of trash. They may have young families, and diapers, it's hard to reduce the number of diapers that a baby will produce. So they may be in a period where they're just generating more trash than other folks. And we thought that multiple bags would unfairly place that burden on them because it would be $1 per bag. So we went with the $1 per trip per vehicle for each customer. There are a few categories of items that are excluded from that facility use fee or the gate fee, and those are associated with extended producer responsibility laws. So if someone comes in and all they have is their bucket of batteries that they've been saving and they want to recycle those, there will not be $1 fee charged to receive that bucket of batteries. Or if all they have are textiles, even though that's not an EPR program, we still want to encourage textiles recycling. If all they have are bags of textiles, those will also not carry that $1 fee. So there's a category of 4 or 5 material types that will not have the fee associated with them. The other new fee that is being implemented at our drop-off centers is a fee for leaf and yard waste. This will likely not necessarily affect folks who utilize the Williston drop-off center significantly because Green Mountain Compost organic recycling facility is right there. And there's not a fee being implemented this year at the organics recycling facility for leaf and yard waste. It is under consideration, but for this upcoming year, you can still drop off your leaf and yard and your food scraps at Green Mountain Compost, keep calling Green Mountain Compost, at the organics recycling facility at no charge as a resident, as a residential user. But for all the other drop-off centers, there will be this charge for leaf and yard waste because it's a huge volume of material and it's very, very expensive to move that material. There has already been an increase at the material recycling facility that went into effect on April 1st. The organics recycling facility is going to increase to $77 a ton on July 1. There's no increase at the environmental depot, our household hazardous waste facility, and the solid waste management fee, that tax on trash, is going up to $41.92 per ton. And again, we do ask for our member cities and towns to consider a motion to approve the CSWD fiscal 27 budget as presented by district staff. I'm going to stop share and ask for additional questions that you may have.
Thank you, Sarah. Are there any questions from the board?
I got mine in.
Just very, very impressed that you have really, stretched and made the most you know, coming back from obviously this huge loss for you all, with as minimal an impact to the user as you have. So much appreciated on that.
Thank you.
Yep, ditto. Any other questions or comments from the board? If not, there is a proposed motion.
Move to approve the fiscal year 2027 Chittenden Solid Waste District budget as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There are no nays. The motion carries. It is approved.
Thank you very much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
That would bring us to the next agenda item, Local Concerns Meeting, Industrial Avenue, Part 2. The sequel.
I can kick this off for the board. We have our consultant joining us over Zoom. So this is a local concerns meeting to discuss a grant-funded sidewalk project on Industrial Avenue. This is a second grant that we've got for another section on Industrial Avenue. It's the second leg from, overall, when this gets all constructed, it'll connect Route 2 and Route 2A, which is exciting for the community to get those filled in. This is a requirement of the grant funding to hold a local concerns meeting. It's intended to receive feedback, comment from the public and the select board, and we'll start with a presentation from our consultant as well, and I think, Christine, you're going to take the lead from staff. So.
Yeah. So Kristen, yeah, come on. Thank you. Okay.
Ready? I can share my screen now. Right. Is that coming through? Wonderful. Christine, do you want to do any sort of intro, or do you want me to just jump right in? Okay. Okay, so this is a pretty quick meeting, and thanks, Eric, for introducing what this is really about. But the few things we'll cover tonight are to introduce the project team. We will look at the project development process, look at some of the existing conditions, and the main reason is to get feedback and take comments and questions about the project. Once that's wrapped up, we'll discuss what comes next. Sorry, mouse is acting up. Project team from the town is Christine and Bruce from the Public Works Department. Stantec, we are the designers, and Israel Maynard is the project manager, and I am the design engineer. And from V-Trans, we have Peter Pochop. So this is how projects typically get from idea to construction. We start in the project definition phase, which is where an idea or a problem is identified. And through that, we look at some alternatives. And hopefully at the end of it, you have a preferred alternative that is supported by the community. Once you get to that point, the project becomes eligible for funding. And once that funding is secured, it can be designed and constructed. So we're going to be talking about just the phase that we're on right now, and I'll go back and look at some of the past project history. But for right now, we received ground survey last year. We looked at the existing conditions and developed conceptual plans. We're here tonight, of course, for the public meeting. NEPA, or environmental review, is underway, and we're hoping that wraps up in the fall. Once that's done, we'll go on to preliminary plans. Should be towards the end of this year. We've reserved right-of-way for next year. And then after that is clear, we move on to final contract plan specifications and estimate. An estimate, and that would leave construction for spring of 2028. So we'll start by taking a look at the project area. Just to orient everybody, this is Industrial Ave going up at an angle, sort of through the middle of the screen. Down here is Williston Road, and up here is 2A. And our project area is highlighted by the red circle. It runs from, this is Whitecap Business Park, right across from Avenue C, and runs up to Rosignol Park. So getting into some of that previous work, this project was originally scoped back in 2011 with a report coming out in 2012. There was a local concerns meeting at that time, but since it's been almost 15 years, we're kind of reintroducing the project to the public and giving everyone another opportunity for comments and questions. Back at that time, the alternatives were developed and presented, and a preferred alternative was selected. Part of that project, part of the scoping project was phase 1 design, which is this same sidewalk just a little bit to the south towards Williston Road. That one is a little bit further along. It got started in 2024, and we got our NEPA environmental clearance last year, developed preliminary plans, and it's currently in right-of-way. And that one we're hoping to have in construction next year. So through that scoping, this is the preferred alternative that was developed for both phase 1 and phase 2. And what it does is it shifts the center line of Industrial Ave 2 feet to the west. And that allows for 4 feet for bikes on either side and 12 feet for vehicles in the travel lanes. And it leaves room for a 5-foot grass strip and then a 5-foot concrete sidewalk. With some ditching on the backside just to prevent any puddling in driveways or on the sidewalk during rainstorms. So now getting into the project area for this one, this is a good picture because it shows where phase 1 will be. So this is right in front of Whitecap Business Park or Evergreen Family Health, looking towards Williston Road. And so that phase 1 project will bring the sidewalk up along here, continuing just to the southerly edge of the Whitecap driveway. And phase 2, the one we're talking about tonight, continues that sidewalk along to the north and east. So sure, everybody's pretty familiar with the road, but there are several businesses and industrial facilities. There is some existing sidewalk on Industrial Ave on both the Williston Road and 2A ends, but it only extends a few hundred feet. And so there's this gap in the middle, which is addressed by both phase 1 and then phase 2. Today, the existing conditions on the road are the roadway is pretty wide for pavement for vehicles. And we're going to utilize some of that space for bikes in the grass strip going forward. A little bit more, this is just past Whitecap. And so this is heading towards Rossignol Park, and this is the alignment of the sidewalk. And then it will continue across the drive for Rossignol Park and ultimately stop where the existing crosswalk is. Speed limit is 30, about 7,300 vehicles per day travel Industrial Ave. The right-of-way width is 3 rods or 49.5 feet. And there are aerial utilities mostly along the westerly side, you can see in this image, but the last few poles in our project area are on the easterly side, so we'll have to deal with those, and there's a potential that they would be relocated. So that's essentially where we're at now. We would like to open it up for any questions, comments. I put some bullet points to help guide about really anything about this project or the area is welcome at this time.
Anything problematic in here? Anything getting close to a building or what properties or anything? It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's a very straightforward sidewalk project. The only exception being those utility poles, but we've proposed a new location for them that's not going to have that much impact. So yeah, it's really straightforward. There's no closed drainage, only a few property owners. So it's a pretty simple one from that standpoint.
Like to hear that.
So are you going to have to buy property or an easement from any adjacent property owners, or is this all going to be done with the existing right-of-way?
So the sidewalk itself will be located within the existing right-of-way. There will be some temporary slope impacts during construction that will require temporary easements.
Yep. Okay, thanks.
So with phase 1 and phase 2, how many feet of roadway does that leave that do not have sidewalk on Industrial? None, it's complete then. Awesome.
0, yeah, it's done, yep.
That is great.
Okay.
Here.
We
Hearing from the community? Anybody?
Yeah, does anybody in the room have any questions or comments? Sure. Yeah, please. Yeah, thanks.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amy Brewer. I live in that neck of the woods, and I'm super excited to have more walk and bike infrastructure. And not to complicate things, but I would just add that the connection, the sidewalk at Rossignol Park goes down a very steep and comes up a very steep. You're going down into this little valley. It's not something I will go in an early morning running, or hated going down there with my kids because of the steep on bikes. So I don't know if anybody ever considered going all the way to Brownell and then hanging right to connect to the actual sidewalk infrastructure there. But I just throw that out there. That's a weird place to be, especially when it's dark.
You mean into the park itself?
It goes
Yes.
down
Yes,
the steep sidewalk. There's a sidewalk, which is great, but it goes down and then back up. So if you're on a bike with kids, I've lost my kid a couple times. I didn't fall, we're fine. But I run that route all the time in the dark, and I won't go down there in the morning. It's just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I'm a pretty confident person, but that's weird down there to go at night in the dark.
It is, I will say, so steep that kids frequently just sled on that part of Rossignol in the winter, just on the sidewalk, so.
It is great flooding.
Yeah.
Don't change that. So that's my observation. I'm super excited that there's more sidewalk opportunity, but I would add that.
Just a follow-up to that too, and appreciate that feedback. The point where we're making that connection, there is sidewalk located on the other side of Industrial Avenue, so our intention is to make that connection to be able to connect across. Then you'll be able to make that connection across and then continue up to Route 2A. I'm familiar with that slope. I wouldn't go down it myself on a bike, but.
Great,
Thank
thank you. Other questions or comments from people in attendance? No? Just a useless historic artifact. When the Cirque Highway was going to be built, one of the possibilities for the earth that was going to be moved would be to fill in Rossignol Park to bring it up to street level.
Possibility, I thought that was a done deal.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
What's that?
You need to finish that story.
That's as much as I can go.
Rossignol Park was dug out for the interstate.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Jeez.
An area they took Phil and Juno out to move up to build the interstate.
I'm gonna,
Parks and Rec.
Back in.
I was just telling somebody that I learn a lot by the history of the Cirque.
Barometer. I have a hand raised online, Ted, but it's iPhone 106. I asked the person to change it to their name, but I don't know if they saw my message. Do you want me to connect them? And
can you quickly disconnect them? Yeah, go ahead.
person with iPhone 106, I'm going to allow you to talk, but if you could please identify yourself and have time for a comment.
Hello, my name is Kevin Batson. Hi, I'm a member of Williston, an ad hoc Williston on the Move group, and several of our members, which Amy is also one of our members, feel feel that has the material that the sidewalk is made out of. Looked at a comparison of asphalt to concrete. My opinion is that asphalt is more future looking. It has the same maintenance as concrete or better. It's, if people want to say get off the bus at Route 2 and go to Whitecap, they might want to bring a scooter. And, concrete is with a way it goes bumpity bump, whereas asphalt is rather smooth, and it's more open to other modes of transportation. And on the VTrans website, it shows that asphalt, everything the same. If you use granite curb edge or whatever, 5 foot, 10 foot, that asphalt is almost 30% less expensive. So have you looked at the cost comparison? I mean, we're right across from Griswold, so maybe that helps lower the price of the concrete, but I would advocate for asphalt. And I've said this many times in town, is that wealthy, healthy, historic towns of Concord, Lexington, and Wellfleet in Massachusetts have used a lot of asphalt sidewalks. And when I went to the town works director and asked why, they said cost, cost, cost. So I would like to, not only that, is it a preference of mine, and I think it's a better design, but it's also more cost effective. So thank you much.
Would you like me to speak to that, Christine?
Eric, I'll give it a quick go, and if you have anything you want
Okay.
to follow up on that, happy to jump in. We understand the the cost comparisons up front, but really this is about also the longevity and maintenance and repair, and also be able to just get work done on it. So when you're looking at, patch and asphalt, maybe that's one thing, but 5 feet, we have sidewalk already, at the beginning of industrial, you'd be then going from sidewalk to asphalt, which really does have a shorter lifespan. So your cost might be 30% lower up front, but you're going to be out there in 10 years, 12 years rebuilding that, versus concrete, which really does show that it has much longer life, and it just more impact resistant to different activities that are on it. We have a couple different locations here in Williston that we're already going back within 15 years now to do repairs and rebuilding of the path. Some of that being up on Route 2A going up into Essex. That section there we're going to be looking at. We're doing some more work here on Mountain View Road and the path sections that are up there. Both of these within 15 years versus concrete sidewalk, which has a much longer lifespan to it. So we do look at that as consideration when we were talking about the materials and what would be the best choice. So there's a couple of different things in there. Cost is one of them, but also compatibility with the existing infrastructure is important.
And this is a sidewalk. I didn't think of scooters, but it's not a bike path, it's
That's
a sidewalk.
That's correct.
What is the average lifespan for the sidewalk?
Say,
Concrete?
yeah, Eric may be able to give a better one, but I'd say, closer to 50 years, 30 to
50?
50,
Okay.
Yeah, one good thing about doing this through VTrans, though there are some hoops to jump through, is you get their specifications involved with it. So their concrete sidewalk spec is pretty tight. So the way we have it designed and the way it will be inspected, some of those bumps maybe from older sidewalks, but this will be smooth when it's put in, and it should last a long time. And yeah, upwards of 50 years if it's built right. And because we're using VTran specs, it will be built right.
Other questions or comments? No? So this is a informational type meeting, right? There's no formal motion that's...
Yeah, correct. I'll just quickly wrap up with what comes next. So we're going to continue with developing the project. We have submitted conceptual plans. We're still in that environmental review. Once those are sort of finalized at that level, we'll come back and hold a public information meeting. And that one will do more to share details of the actual project and what the impacts are. And we'll get a better look at what the sidewalk's going to look like when it's constructed. And we're hoping to do that either this summer or fall. And finally, that's it. We've got contact information for Christine and myself. If anybody has any other comments or questions that come up after, please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Christine.
Thanks.
Eric, a little aside, but I forget where we are, but someone's looking at all the sidewalks in town for like gaps and things that need to be fixed and things like that. Could we make sure that Rosignol sidewalk is at least considered in whatever we're looking at?
Yeah, it'll be part of that. I know we have that mapping effort, so kind of updating the maintenance and those just the overall work on the sidewalks in town. So I'll chat with staff about that.
I mean, it'd be hard to prioritize fixing something when we have things that don't have a sidewalk at all, but, we should at least have it on our radar, I think.
So that would bring us to the next agenda item, the fiscal year 2027 roadway paving funding. So
Yeah, so I can kick this off, and Finance and Public Works are here if you have any questions, but this was requested by the board. We took a look.
Chris,
at
do you want
these.
to, you're not going to get any more chances to, to sit at the
Yeah,
table.
for budget shit.
That's right, we still have
That'll be my sponsor.
our enterprise funds.
So this was a request. The town got some funds for some reimbursement for some FEMA work from a couple years back here, totaling $287,000. We chatted with the auditor. The select board could either assign those funds from the unassigned fund balance or direct staff to overspend. We're talking about paving. It was a request by the board a couple meetings ago if we could increase the paving budget for FY27. Our thought, if the board wants to do this, would be to make a motion to assign the fund balance, just for the record and the process there. So there's potentially $287,000 that we got in reimbursement. That was to the general fund. We just wanted to double check a couple things the last few weeks here. Board could round that up if they wanted to 290 or 300,000 I put in there, but 287 is the reimbursement number. And Shirley's here if there's any questions on the finance side of that with the accounting piece, and Bruce and Christine are here if you have any public works questions. But we have a piece in our contract with our paving contract for FY27 to add scope of work. Bruce has contacted them. Something we can do. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bruce, but that's how we can do it.
Yeah, we always have it in our bid spec to either reduce or add to the contract. And so after this conversation started, I did get hold of Pike, who was our contractor this year, and told them that we may be adding. And I've never had any of them say that that's a problem, but I still wanted to reach out and make sure, because $300,000 or $290,000 is going to get us, it's not going to get as much as you think, but it'll certainly help. So, and they don't have a problem with it. They're just waiting for me to get back to them and say yes or no.
Questions?
Am I remembering correctly from the budget discussions that the need for the town was like 500,000? Or?
No, I asked for $750,000
Oh, okay.
and got $540,000.
Yeah, I remember 200 we left on the table, so that's kind of where this
So
came
if
from.
we'd have got the 750 to start with, I'd still take the 300. No problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think our thinking was this 287 came out of the Public Works budget when we had the problem, and so it should go back to Public Works, and we clearly know this was not only the fact that I hear about it every day, but that people think that it's a problem in town, and that you've asked for more money for that, which we were unable to squeeze into the budget last year, but this makes everything right, so.
We'll always take money.
What do we get for that?
I'm sorry?
What does that buy?
That'll buy us all paid. So for some reason, the section of roads over by Van Sicklen, South Brunel, and Walker Hill took a real beating this winter. I mean, they literally never seen a section fall apart like they have over there. So we're going to do from the interstate bridge on South Brunel at least down to Van Sicklen. We're going to do Walker Hill Road. And now that we put that Band-Aid, is what it was supposed to be called, on Van Sicklen Road, watching them do that and what was put down, I think will probably buy you 6 or 7 years there. So we may take that money, because even past Van Sicklen on South Brunel has gotten pretty bad in spots. So we'll do a lot of South Brunel. The flip side to that is that's a Class 2 town highway, so we get money sometimes to help with those, but if you don't get it, you still have to do the work, so.
Van Sicklen's so bad that someone told me that they said, I think they did that on purpose to slow down traffic. It's a traffic calming.
Yeah, no, it's, like, I really honestly, I mean, I've seen roads fall apart in the wintertime, unexpectedly. But I look back to see on our paving schedule, And those roads were all close to being at the end of their 12 years or whatever, which we like to do 12 to 15 years. The problem is, and you all know it, Williston's getting a lot more traffic. We're gonna start having that dilemma happen more and more, because you go back and look at the town highway maps, and you'd be surprised that it's not that long ago that some of these roads were just treated roads, which means they were gravel roads, and then somebody went and sprayed something over top of them and make them black, and then they put some pavement over them over time, and so they weren't ever really built to handle the kind of traffic that's happening now. So it's just something that, you're gonna have to be aware of as time goes on. Your paving budget should probably be, I asked for 750. $1 million would not be unreasonable to be able to really tear some of these roads apart and put some things back together, besides just doing some overlays on your other roads. So, I can come back for next year just to tell you that again.
So if there are no other questions or comments, there is a proposed motion.
I move to designate up to $290,000 of the town's unassigned general fund balance to be used for roadway paving in fiscal year 2027.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There are no nays, the motion carries.
Great, thank you, we really appreciate it.
Thanks for soaking up every minute with you.
Yep.
I was gonna say, it's your retirement gift.
So that would bring us to the Windswept Farm lease. Eric?
Yep, so this is a document for the town to consider a lease with Windswept Farm for use of the former Glazer property that the town acquired earlier this year. Town attorneys assisted in getting the lease agreement in place and making the final edits. I've shared that proposed document with the board earlier today. Take any questions, and I guess that serves Michael Moss, he's here in the audience as well. But any questions the board has, or you need to walk through?
Staff's okay with this now?
Yep.
Okay. Well, if there are no questions, there is a proposed motion.
I'll move to authorize the town manager to enter into a lease agreement with Windswept Farm for use of town property.
Is there a second?
Second. You gotta be faster, you gotta be
Work it out.
faster.
Rock, paper, scissors, over there.
Any discussion on the motion? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There are no nays. The motion carries. The town manager is going to sign it, so.
I'll get that signed and over to you. We'll be all. Thank you for everything.
Yeah. So that would.
May I say something?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
please do.
I would like to thank the development people who have been so helpful throughout this whole process, which has been very painful. I farmed that land for 50 years, and to see it all torn up is something that no one wants to see. But, Matt and Emily and everybody has been as helpful as they possibly could. They help us stay in business. And we hope to keep going for quite a long time.
We do too.
Yep,
And thank you to the select board as well.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for everything you do. Okay, that would bring us to the next agenda item, the Select Board Goals and Work Plan 2026-2027.
So thanks for the good discussion at the retreat last meeting. I worked to try to summarize this in a document. So I updated those kind of 4 areas: identify, discover, active, and sponsorship. Based on that discussion, that's the beginning of this document with definitions of that on the first page. And then the next part is working to get that into a grid to kind of sketch out the plan for the year from a meeting standpoint. And certainly we can revisit this throughout the year. Thanks to Jean for laying out the draft grid to work from here and trying to get this in a good tool for the select board to utilize, and tried to build in things, updates, reports, discussion items, and action items. Tried to plug in a lot of these work plan items throughout the year, and I tried to think some timelines for the staff work, and knowing that some of these will be multiple meeting goals as well, I tried not to predict like how many meetings they would be. I tried to just leave some space here and there. So The board discussed at its last meeting, having an update quarterly on some of these larger items for the year. Obviously, something's kind of further out on the work plan. We can talk about any preliminary work we've done for that, but this is still, year to year, trying to get this process in place, trying to do it, this time, April, May. So between town meeting each year, the board can direct staff and for a board what your goals are for the year. We can hopefully get through things in the work plan. We can look back and see how we did at the end of the year, and it can be a tool for planning the next year after that. So I'm just looking for your feedback, your edits, and if it's in a place to consider adoption this evening, the board could consider that, or if you have some more items, I can clean it up some more and bring it back to you at your next meeting.
I really like the grid layout. I feel like I really like this organizational structure. It's helpful.
Other feedback?
Yeah, I feel like you really captured, all the points that we had mentioned as priorities. I think this is easy to read and easy to kind of makes it easier to track that we are following through with things and that we are actually addressing the goals that we say we have.
I was going through trying to track like the things we had and where they were on the calendar kind of thing, and there were two that, not everything has to be on the calendar, I guess, if you're going to do quarterly updates, but the two that I didn't see were the onboard and maintenance training that we talked about. I just don't see that anywhere, and then my neighborhood livability issue. Like I said, they don't have to be on the calendar if that's not a calendar appropriate thing, but I would like an update on them, if that makes sense. That's
Sure.
to you.
Yeah, that was where I was thinking with it, is, the neighborhood piece might be initially a planning commission discussion to
Right.
update you on that, and then the staff component as an update with a quarterly report as well.
Okay. The only one that would be easy to add is the Housing Trust Fund is on the calendar. It's probably goes under your sustainable budget, under the Discover. I guess that's kind of backwards. It's on the calendar, but not on the goals, so.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you just stick it under the sustainable budget, I think that might be a good place to put that, and
Okay.
that's the only other thing I just.
Okay, I'll add that to that grid.
Probably ERF too under that same.
True. Mhm.
Yeah, both of those there. I think we target that for a an October timeline discussion, heavy budget work.
Thank you for organizing all that. That's helps. I like grids too.
We can check some things off from tonight.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. We'll get a big red pen. We can cross them off as we.
Yes, that'd be bored, so. Yeah, this is just helpful planning tool all around for everybody, so good evolution of it.
So with that, does the board wish to come back on it after you add those things, or do we want to approve it tonight?
I'm okay approving it as.
Okay. All right. And there is a proposed motion.
Greta's look like she's all ready.
Sure. I had to speak a lot last night. I don't have to do the executive session. So move to approve the select board goals and work plan for March 2026 to March 2027.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 There are no nays. The motion carries. It is adopted. That would bring us up to manager's report.
I'll highlight a few things here. So you've got your Q3 quarterly report. Thanks to department heads and Aaron for getting that together for you. I'll also include our local option tax report for Q3 of FY27. That's historically the quarter that's a little lower in revenue where it falls in the calendar. I think kind of captures some of the post-holiday period. But overall, through 3 quarters, where we thought our revenue would be is about $20,000 over. So that's good, but we need the Q4 to really see where we end up. So that's rounding out like the last million or so that we budgeted. So This is one of, I guess the second quarter, we have the additional 5% of the cost share built in for the revenue for the local option tax. So it will be interesting to see where the fourth quarter lands. And I'm going to follow up. I've been looking at just some analysis work of our local option tax as something to get to you prior to the FY28 budget development. So trying to take a look at that and get that to you over the summertime. So part of that sustainable budget discussion. So continue to watch it very closely. I haven't heard legislatively where the conference committees landed this week. I haven't had a chance to follow it on early the ledge report from last week, but there was discussion about the local option tax formula and the pilot fund and the ceiling. So keep watching that, but I just haven't a chance to look at it. Maybe someone else has, but well, I also want to recognize, it's in the written report and Fire Department put out a press release, but our Lieutenant Tony Szymanskis has been achieved the professional designation of Chief EMS Officer by the Commission on Professional Credentialing earlier this month. This designation is awarded through a rigorous peer review process evaluates candidates across 7 professional categories that include experience, education, professional development, professional contributions, association membership, community involvement, and technical competence. So really fewer than 300 individuals in the country have this designation. And Lieutenant Szymanskis is the second individual in the state of Vermont to achieve this. So really congratulations to him on this great accomplishment for him and our department. And also want to highlight and recognize that it's National EMS Week this week. Just thank our providers for all their work and as we do that every year. And also a thanks for Green Up Day. 470 bags distributed, over 2 tons collected, 56 road miles covered, and over 500 volunteers. So, big thanks to our planning department staff who organized that, and our Green Up event that's also merged in with our energy fair. We had good turnout. And, the tent
Miserable
fair.
morning.
Yeah. I think we've done that 4 or 5 years now, and it's always a good community event in the spring to get people to come out to. So that was a good day. And then one more thing, looking at a potential executive session on June 2nd and thinking about possibly a 6:30 start that evening. So if there's any conflicts for board
I may
members.
not be at that meeting.
Works for me.
It's fine.
We good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that okay for you, McHugh? Okay. I'll confirm once I work on that agenda a little bit more. And that is all I have for managers this evening.
That would bring us to other business. Let's see.
So potential, I know McHugh was interested in the CCRPC role, and he met with the Executive Director, Carly Baker. I don't want to speak for you, McHugh, but it sounds like you're interested. Wants to consider an appointment. So there's a motion suggested. This would, and it would move our current Karen Peterson. She has looked to step down from the primary role, but she's willing to continue as the alternate, so there should be some formality around that. This would get us through June 30th, and then this could be on the reappointment list next meeting to carry on after that.
Okay.
I'll move to appoint McHugh Devitt as Williston Commissioner to the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission and Karen Peterson as alternate commissioner for an unexpired 2-year term through June 30th, 2026.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
A second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There are no nays, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
very,
it's been
very
stepping
much.
up you.
Yeah. So that would bring us up to final thoughts on items from this meeting. Are there any final thoughts on items from this meeting?
I just had a real quick question about the local options tax. Did we, the budgeted number does not reflect, like we didn't anticipate necessarily that additional 5%. So if we hadn't received that 5%, we would be we would be under budget or under what we had budgeted right now.
Do you remember, Shirley?
Or did we adjust it?
We did include an increase in the budget.
We did
because we knew
include
it was happening.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, great. Just thinking ahead for next year. Sorry.
I'm impressed. I didn't even think of that question. Wow. I have to turn in my hat pretty soon.
Any other final thoughts?
One other business.
Oh, okay,
after-
sure, yeah, let's go back.
We have a liquor license application from the Vermont Repertory Theater Company for 2 theater runs at the Isham Barn. It's a limited event series. It's a little different from one we've received in the past. The theater company will receive the license, and it's at the venue of Isham Family Barn. If the board wants to consider this evening, or I can have it on your next agenda for Andy Michael, who's spearheading that to speak to, but wanted to see how you want to approach it. And I believe you're on the board there, Ellie. so
I'm
you
also
have
on the
some
board, and
words.
so I may be able to answer questions.
Yeah.
for that.
So we have these, and I just want to see how you want procedurally.
With
'cause
the
It's something we don't
liquor
always do.
license rather than, so would it be ongoing, like they could have further events potentially at Isham then?
It's just a
come through them?
limited series, so I think it aligns with the performances.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The state allows us 4 events for no longer than 4 days each
Okay.
per year.
Okay.
So the difference is that we're not granting this to the property owner, but to the event holder.
Correct. And it's the event holder. I don't believe there's going to be a third-party beverage service.
Okay.
So there would have to be I'll how the setup's going to be for that, for like, who would be serving the alcohol?
It would be me and another board member, and we've already done the online certification.
Do we do this any other, I'm just trying to think of, how unusual is this? I know it's unusual for the Isham Barn.
This is the first one, 'cause Sarah went back and forth with Andy last week, and then, just on what was the right one to apply for, and, this was the right one after consulting with DLC. It was the first one we've seen for the local liquor control board for this type of event, but the venue itself regularly gets, liquor license permits for weddings and things of that nature.
I guess I'd be okay with giving it a try.
Yeah, I mean, the event space has routinely had events where alcohol has been served, and, we would, if they've taken the course, and that's what we would ask of anybody applying for a liquor license, so.
So, anybody want to move to approve?
I will move to approve.
Is there a second? Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Are we
Yeah,
accusing?
I probably should
Recusal?
recuse.
Yeah.
So it's 4-0-1, and the motion carries. So, okay.
We'll process it.
So is that it, or is there anything else for other business?
No, that's.
Okay, all right, so that would bring us to an anticipated executive session. There is a proposed
I just want
motion.
to say we're 5 minutes ahead, so.
Yeah, we're 8 minutes. So,
Ellie's queued up,
Executive
she's
session.
ready.
go Ellie. Go, Ellie, go.
I move to find that premature public knowledge regarding a labor relations agreement with employees would clearly place the town at a substantial disadvantage, and further move that we enter executive session to discuss a labor relations agreement with employees under Title I, Sections 313A, 1B, and invite Fire Chief Aaron Collette, Human Resource Director Susan Leonard, and Town Manager Eric Willis to join the discussion.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous. We are in executive session. We will not be returning to public session after this, and no formal decisions or actions will be taken.